Unfortunately, what happens now shows that the whole world, up till now, does not know how to hold Israel accountable properly for its practices. Even the citizens in our region feel that the whole world is neglecting what Israel is doing and ignoring what happens. They do not take any procedures to stop Israel from doing this. Israel used to be one of the rare countries that was established by a UN resolution. However, this country is neglecting and ignoring all the international resolutions, including the law of war. It ignores everything. It feels that the world makes it free to do whatever they want in Israel. There's no procedures at all.
Sir, we've seen the north of Gaza facing severe and dire situations, including bombings, being cut off from humanitarian aid. Do you think that Israel will continue to implement the general's plan when it comes to northern Gaza?
The plan they are following in Gaza is developed by a group of generals in the right wing of Israel who suggest that Israel would displace all the residents in North Gaza with no exception. They give them a grace period of 1 week, and if they do not leave by force, by starving, by preventing access to water, by these ways they would leave. They already started doing this, and everyone sees what happens in the south. They want them to leave to south of Gaza, but with the practice of the Israeli leadership, they are burning the women, the children, the civilians with the special bombs. So people are afraid. They do not know if they should stay and be starved or they should leave, and then they would be exposed to bombing and burning. They leave no option for anyone. The whole world is not aware what happens in Gaza. Everyone is busy with what happens in Lebanon, what would happen with Iran. That's why the cause of Gaza became secondary issue, despite the fact that the Israeli army is continuing its operations that would lead to the killing of the children and burning them without any limits. They do this randomly without setting a certain area. There's no safe place in Gaza.
Well, sir, even though you say that the international community is more concerned with what's happening in Lebanon, but we have seen condemnation from several countries towards what's happening in the northern Gaza region, especially the siege, but there hasn't been a lot of action. Do you think that the United States will use tools to pressure Israel to lift the siege on northern Gaza, or will it be business as usual when it comes to how the United States deals with Israel?
The United States is partner to Israel in this war. Now there are warnings from the United States, and in a month, increasing the supply of humanitarian aid to Gaza and stop striking Beirut, while taking into consideration human rights principles. All of this would be in a month. So they have 1 month to do whatever they want. After that, they will hold Israel accountable. So there is a sense that the United States is a partner. The West believes that also the United States is a partner. In the Arab world, there is a great desire to have peace in the region, to have friendly relationships with the Americans, with the Westerns. The Arab world wants to have a different reality, but the war in Gaza, the role played by the West, makes the Arabs and the residents of this region very far from the friendly relationships and from also the values they discuss, because it's double standard. When the war happened in Ukraine, everyone started to yell about it, but they're silent about what happens in Palestine. So it's a great disappointment because of this policy. Even the friends of the United States and the West in the world, in the Arab world, feel really embarrassed. They are unable to interpret this policy, this double standard, which delays all the operations, programs, and projects being implemented in the Arab world for the welfare of the human being. All of this is being slowed down because of the new understanding of these values, because these values turned out to be not honest with double standards.
Well, sir, since you talked about the idea of double standards, we've seen as you said, with Ukraine, sanctions being put in place, talking about upholding international law and so forth. How do you think that international law can compel Israel to facilitate, for instance, a basic human right, entry of aid into the Gaza Strip? Or is it just like empty words that we've seen where, the international community condemns what's happening in northern Gaza, but they're not necessarily doing much to apply international law?
Definitely. First of all, there are aids, a lot of aids, but Hamas is controlling a big part of it, and they are trade in these aids. Even the prices are increased 10 times. People are unable to buy the minimum level of the essential needs they need. Life is unbearable, and Israel adds to all of this the danger of killing. Inside Israel, there's discussion. They are wondering why the world is against them. Here they do not talk about the governments, but they talk about the citizens in the streets and the international organizations. There was a TV show or a talk show saying that, and the presenter said that the world takes a stance against Israel because they see things that we do not see. This draws our attention to the fact that the people in Israel are not aware of what happens inside Gaza or in Lebanon, because the whole Israeli media is recruited and they do not reflect the truth regarding Lebanon or Gaza. That's why they continue in this war blindly, and the government exploits this situation to continue its war operations without any accountability. The Western countries that are supposed to have a big responsibility at that time now, especially with the current situation in the Arab world, in order to change the Arab reality towards a better trend towards peace, they are feeling that they are stabbed from the back. Here I do not talk about the people or the civil organizations in the Western world. Here I'm talking about the Western leaders. They represent the volatile West people towards what happens in Lebanon, in Gaza.